Oh, what's going on with that? Is there a filter on my face? I'm confused. Okay. Hey y'all. Happy Wednesday. I wanted to hop on here today because I woke up, and maybe this is because I went to sleep yesterday. And like the one of the last videos I saw was of Mariah the Scientist inviting young Thug up on that stage. Child, listen. So hey memory. I went to sleep and I woke up this morning, and sometimes when I'm coming out of my sleep, I start to get messages. And I kept getting messages around the divine feminine and how our energy or our perception of love has been distorted, right? Which is on brand because I'm here to bring back divine union in its truest form, right? And so this morning I got up and I started making this TikTok, and I was gonna do a message about how again we're perceiving love, from a distorted lens because of the patriarchy. But then I don't know. For some reason, when I went to go make the video, I could not form the words because I feel like I'm tired of having this same specific conversation. And so I go to pull a card for myself for today, and it's the divine feminine wound, the wounded divine feminine card. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So maybe I need to get on here and talk about that. But I think what I actually want to do today is talk about Earth as a consciousness, because I feel like a lot of the reason why the divine feminine is distorted is because we don't know how to root into Earth anymore. We don't even understand what Earth is and what its role as a conscious technology is. So I kind of want to talk about that today because I feel like so much of what we have been taught by our school systems, by the patriarchy, by, men, ew, gross. So much of what we have been taught has been a distorted version of the truth because they were meaning to keep us disconnected, because in order for them to stay on the throne, they had to dethrone the divine feminine because we are the higher self in this reality, right? And so I wanted to spend some time talking about that today, especially because it is a portal day, meaning like today is 9/11. 9/11 is potent energy for embodying your oversoul, awakening through revelation and stuff like that. So I want to do a little rebrand for Earth and talk about what Earth actually is. Talk about salt because that's a big part of Earth. That is how we get reconnected to the crystalline grid. And I also want to talk about like what Earth's role was before distortion. I want to talk about plasma because I keep getting messages about plasma, which is something that actually naturally occurs through like lightning and shit like that. So I don't know. I normally go live this time on Wednesdays, but recently I've been taking a break. I was trying to get away from teaching, but it seems like I can't get away from it. Really not teaching, but holding remembrance sessions. But it seemed like I can't get away from it. So today I kind of want to talk about Earth as a conscious living being, as a body, as a planetary body. Like we have a body, Earth is the above of our body, right? So I want to talk about that because I don't think we understand how magical Earth is and how much Earth can play a role in us creating and manifesting the life that we actually fucking want, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want you to understand about Earth is that Earth is a stabilizer, right? When you think about the Earth signs are very stable. They're very reliable. They're very dependable, right? They're very predictable. Earth is a stabilizer, and it helps us to hold form for the intentions that we have. Okay. So it's an element that brings things into form. And that's why when you see what they quote unquote call witchcraft, a lot of times what those people are using is fire, which is an element, but they also use herbs, right? Because herbs so they help to bring things into form. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying, right? It is a crystallizer, it is a consolidator, and it also is a container, right? And we talked about before, if y'all been here for the Atlantis series, how you can create a container of energy. Like these sessions that we hold on Wednesday are a container for love and remembrance, right? It creates a frequency, it holds a frequency. So when you're seeking to shift something into your favor, it often requires your desire to come out of the field of ideas, right? Come out of the field of emotions and be rooted into form. And you can use Earth to do that, okay? So one great practice that I use is like whatever I desire, I write it down on a piece of paper, right? I always fold that paper towards me into a very, very small piece. And then I bury it in earth, right? I bury it in earth and I tell her, earth, receive my desires, transmute it into structure. I trust your timing. I trust your form. And I literally give it to earth, right? What you got to understand is the earth holds and repatterns the desires through her crystalline network. Okay. So that's one way you can use earth is as a stabilizer, okay, to bring things from the idea and emotion realm into form. The second way that you could use earth is as a transmuter. It pulls density out of your body, right? So I've talked about this before, how at the bottom of your feet, you have all of these minor chakras. And when you place those minor chakras onto earth's, hold on, y'all, my cat want to go outside. Do y'all see her back there? Hold on. Y'all on TikTok can't see her. But girl, she back there waiting by the door. Hold on, y'all. I got on the skirt and I don't want y'all to see my ass. So 1 second. Girl, boo. Go. Ruining my damn session. Child. Anyways. She's such a cutie. Yeah, you come get her, friend, because she plays too fucking much. But anyways, so I talked about the minor chakras that are in your feet. And when you put your feet in the ground, earth is covered by all of these little small mushrooms or all this cilia. And it starts, the chakras in your feet help you to discharge excess emotional energy into the ground, meaning earth wants to take whatever emotional energy or whatever grief that you're holding, it wants to take it from you. But we do live in a society that, creates our shoes using a rubber bottom. And if y'all know anything about rubber does not conduct electricity, which means it disconnects you from the earth. Okay. So the earth loves to take what is heavy, what's stagnant, what's distorted, and compost it. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed or burdened by like thought loops or identities or energies that don't belong to you, the earth is your most loving drain and transformer. Hey, boo. So all you do is need to stand on grass, right? Or you can sit in the grass or sit up straight, which also, what I like to do is when I don't have grass, I either use my plant or I visualize myself like up against a tree and I see like a root going down. And you can place your hands on your knees, breathe deeply and say, Earth Mother, I give you what is no longer mine to carry. I release all thought forms, weights, and implants, compost them into nutrients for the new world. Okay, you got to tell her what you want her to do. Okay, now when you do this, you can feel heat, tingling, or deep exhale responses. Let them happen, but that is just earth like recalibrating your field. Hey, Alicia. The third function that earth has is that earth is a mirror of embodiment, right? Because we came here to embody our oversoul, which means that, a lot of times we're taught that we came to ascend, like we're supposed to escape to somewhere outwards, right? But that's not what a lot of us came to do. We came to embody the God self in this reality to basically force collective healing, right? So since you're heavy in Earth's frequency, your mission is embodiment, which means your body becomes the signal, meaning you are supposed to anchor so much into yourself, your authentic self, that you're emitting a specific tone. Earth recognizes you, and just you emitting from the place that you came here to emit from affects 17,000 people. It awakens 17,000 people. Okay. So, whatever it is you call in won't be fully magnetized by just visualizing things or just by your thoughts. You have to anchor it through how you move in your daily reality, how you care for your physical vessel, how consistently you show up for your soul work in form. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and, I think a lot of times people will be listening to people on the internet who are like, be delusional, be delusional. Yes, that's part of it. But that's not all you can do, because if you are just visualizing something or thinking about something and that's you being delusional, but you're not actually taking action, then that's just fantasy. You need to ground that fantasy in reality. That's just daydreaming. You need to ground it into reality. I mean, you gotta embody the thing that you want to experience. Okay. The fourth thing is that earth is a memory keeper and a grid reweaver, which means that you can connect to ancient memory. That's why some people say, oh, trees respond to them and stuff like that. Ancient memory, oversoul fragments, or lost timelines simply by touching stones, which are any type of rock outside, which are the bones of earth, or crystals outside, bones of earth, laying on rocks, or visiting a nature-based power spot, which can even be in a city park, right? The earth holds the Sirach Codex and often reveals hidden steps, allies, and truths when you drop into her frequency. The difference between women now and women back in the day is that we were very much so rooted and working in conjunction with earth, right? We were rooted into earth. That made us less malleable and less susceptible to control. Okay, that's why they had to disconnect us from earth, because we're easier to control when we're not rooted into ourselves, when we're not rooted into the feminine energy. Earth is a feminine body. Okay, so earth reconnects us to ourselves. We can't get earth's wisdom if we're not connecting with earth at all. We're staying in the house all day, right? We're not putting our feet into the ground. We're not using herbs anymore to help us to bring our ideas and our emotions into form. You know, so I guess the reason why I wanted to do this today is because I keep getting this message about us, our perception of love being distorted and the divine feminine, you know, coming back. But I feel like we got to talk about the main divine feminine, right? And once we talk about what Earth's role is, the things that you do within your body directly impacts her, because as within, so without, as above, so below, right? So you don't fix Earth and you don't fix the things that are happening in our environment by trying to fix them outwardly. You have to fix it on the inside of you first, because you directly impact Earth. Okay. I hope that makes sense. And the fifth way that you can use Earth is to shift your timeline density. Okay. Many timelines, yeah, everything is connected. Yes. Many timeline distortions lodge themselves into the lower chakras and create illusions of blockages. Okay, so Earth can help drain these artificial blocks and recircuit your field to align with your oversoul template. Okay, Earth is not passive. Earth is responsive, and she responds to frequency. She responds to ritual. Please understand, when I say ritual, you know, we have been sold witchcraft as a distortion, like it's alchemy, right? But we have been conditioned against using earth to our benefit, right? They call it witchcraft. But you got to understand that back before distortion, we were ritualistic people, meaning that, and it wasn't like a ritual. Everything that we do is a ritual. If you get up every single day and you have a schedule, that is a ritual. You know, if you pray before you go to sleep, that is a ritual. If you pray before you eat your food, that is a ritual. So we're still ritualistic people, but we don't realize that we're doing rituals, right? I hope that makes sense. So what a ritual basically is devotion, right? You're continuously showing up in a specific way, which helps you anchor in that frequency, but also presence, like sitting present with your emotions, sitting in stillness, sitting in neutrality, right? Sitting in that 0 point energy, because when you are present, that is when you are accessing the aether, and the aether, within the aether exists every single possibility. You manifest from 0 point energy. You manifest from stillness, from neutrality, right? And that's why high priestess energy is always purple, because purple is the perfect blend of the red and the blue, the red pill, the blue pill. It's in the center point, neutrality, right? And so you need to be present. We struggle with presence because we were taught that our emotions are a weakness for men, and for women, a weakness for us too. We're supposed to just take care of everybody and not complain about it. Or we're too sensitive, right? Or we too emotional, and they try to weaponize emotional energy against us, when in our reality, emotional energy is how you root into yourself, how you root into the earth, right? So when you treat earth like a consciousness and not just an element, she opens the deeper gates of remembrance for you, support, and divine reflection. Okay? We are doing rituals in accordance with the mimic system. Thank you, baby. Exactly. You just doing they rituals and not your own. You know, everything that they have told you is bad, they are doing, but they're telling you it's bad, so you're not doing it, so that you're easily manipulated, so that their rituals work on you because you're moving through life unconsciously. You know, one thing that I told y'all that Earth is a dream field. Okay, it was a way for us to come to dream while we are awake. So the only way for you to manipulate this environment is for you to start becoming conscious in this environment, meaning everything that you do is intentional, right? That's you lucid dreaming while you're awake. You know, when you lucid dream, when you go to sleep, you can manipulate things and it could affect the timeline that you're in when you wake up. You could also lucid dream while you're awake, which means you have to be conscious in what you're doing. You can't just be on autopilot, because when you're on autopilot, any interference, anything that they're sending your way, because you're not consciously aware of different frequencies, is going to shape the behavior that you have, right? So I want to talk real quick about the indigenous traditions and Voudon, right? Or what they call voodoo, Voudon, whatever, or anything that they call witchcraft. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because that is the way that we moved from that has been demonized. Anything that had to do with the old gods, anything that had to do with the elementals, you know, or what they used to call paganism, anything that has to do with any of that, they demonized it because it removes your connection to earth, which is the magic field. Earth is the magic. Earth is where you anchor from, right? They remove your connection from it so that they can use it to their own benefit. Okay. So, the difference between people who participate in any type of elemental work, that's what we're going to call it. Any type of elemental work is that for them, earth was not a background. She was a spirit, and they treated her like a spirit, not just like a backdrop. Okay. So traditions like Haitian voodoo, indigenous earth medicine, the Appalachian root work, Ifa, and even elemental witchcraft didn't just use earth as a tool. They entered into relationship with her. They entered into a relationship with her, which means that they were doing things consistently to build a connection, to build a relationship, right? They knew that the dirt itself stores memory. Okay. The herbs can hear. They actually, in indigenous cultures, the reason why how they knew medicinal benefits of herbs was because they talked to the fucking plants. They talked to the trees, and the trees told them the benefit of specific plants, right? The rivers were messengers. I don't know if you've ever did any type of spell work, but a lot of times when people are trying to get things away from them, they'll throw it in the river behind their back. They'll throw it in the river and watch it drift off if they're trying to separate themselves from something, right? The winds were voices. Because I don't know if y'all ever seen The Wheel of Time, but there were certain people who could hear the wind. They could hear the voices in the wind. Okay, because they put it in our face all the time. And fire didn't only destroy, it freed. Fire is a releasing agent. Fire is the substance that animates you, which is something else they don't be wanting to tell you. Okay, so these systems became potent because they were built in co-creation with elemental and planetary intelligence. Okay, so the things that we call witchcraft is elemental and planetary intelligence. You using that, which is you, because you're made of it, right? Which is using earth to your benefit. It's not borrowed, it's not extracted, it's a relational technology. Your relation to technology. Okay, so earth is a conscious technology, especially in her untampered ley lines, volcanic pathways, womb caves. She's a living consciousness field. Okay, working with her doesn't summon power. It reminds you that you already carry it. No, it's a TV show, The Wheel, like a wheel on a tire, like a wheel. The Wheel of Time. It's on Amazon. They canceled it. Boo. But you're not summoning power from the earth. It's yours to you. You already carry the power. You're just working in relation to the body that you live within, right? So in these traditions, they use a lot of salt because salt purifies, not because of its chemistry, but because of its crystalline grid. And we'll talk about salt in detail in just a second, okay? Roots don't just heal physically, they carry ancestral codes as well. And ceremony realigns not just your energy, but the surrounding grid itself. Okay, anytime you do a ritual, anytime you do a ceremony, you are realigning yourself with the energy. Okay, this is not superstition. This is grid work in disguise. That's what that is. Okay, so the suppression of it was actually strategic. Colonial, patriarchal, and religious systems demonized earth-aligned spiritual traditions, not because they were dangerous to people, but because they were dangerous to control structures. You are not controllable when you are in your power, when you are rooted in yourself, when you have your own magic. right? When you're not praying to something outside of you to give you something, right? When I was down in Alaska, the cottonwood tree told me that they were excited that we were remembering them ourselves again, period. As an indigenous Alaskan, we call the plants Kayani. I probably said that wrong. Meaning plant people. We speak, saying to them, and ask for permission to work with them. Yes, anytime you're about to, cut off a leaf to a plant or something, please tell the plant that you're about to do it. Okay, because they are alive. They're very much so alive. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, my love. Okay, but it was dangerous to control systems. These practices activate your sovereign will, your free will, your independence. You don't need anything outside of yourself. You don't need to hope for anything because you can just do a ritual. You can just realign yourself to Earth's crystalline grid. And then boom, you got what you asking for. It repairs broken soul lines because when you root into Earth, Earth has wisdom. It has memory, right? They want you to, the reason why we have school systems is to condition us. They want to tell you what the history is so that they can shape your memories. Right? So if you start to remember it, or you start to hear from Earth or from any of these things that you're rooted into something different than that, you question it. Right? You question it. They are constantly erasing history and repainting the story because they don't want you to have the truth. But when you're rooted in yourself, the truth lives in your bones. It lives in your body. It lives in the trees around you. But you can't hear if you constantly in this performance energy because we live in a performance society. That's what patriarchy is. That's what masculine energy is the energy of activity. And they want you to go, 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 go. So you don't got time to think. So you ain't got time to hear. Right? Earth energy is feminine energy, which means it's the energy of rest. You got to be in a rested state, meaning your central nervous system can't be all motherfucking everywhere. You got to have a regulated central nervous system and you got to be able to hear, right? It also reconnects people to the planetary field, making them harder to enslave, tame, or program. So the more you remember your link to Earth, the less susceptible you are to inorganic overlays, soul fragmentation, and spiritual bypassing. Tadra, I haven't seen you in so long. Amazing to be back. Hey, Isis girl. Okay. And right now it's important because these traditions are not only being recreated exactly as they were, but they are being re-honored in their essence. So living rituals with breath, bone, dirt, and memory are coming back. There's a lot more people who are interested in these traditions right now, and it's because Earth is calling us, literally calling us. Non-linear wisdom as well, passed through sensation, rhythm, and dreams. And then we also get flame lineages reconnecting to earth-based root coding that predates all religions. And that's why I do what I do. Y'all, if y'all don't know who I am, my name is Taja. I'm here to help us re-embody our oversoul. Right? Because that's what we came here to do. That's what Earth is supposed to be helping us do. Your oversoul is like the God within. And they tell you there's only one because in 17th, 18th century, we became a monotheistic world, meaning there's only one God, right? But before that, there were multiple, right? If you look at the Egyptian pantheon, the Greek pantheon, any of those, there are multiple archetypes, which are basically oversoul indicators, right? So they told us that that's mythology now because they wanted us under one control system instead of multiple, because then everybody could still be individualistic. If there's multiple, if you don't have the same as somebody else, then you see yourself as different. No, they wanted us robots, all the same, right? Hey, Lisa. Period. Hey, Natalie. Hey, y'all. Okay, my people in here. Hey, y'all. So they wanted us under one system because they want us to believe that there's only one God within. That's not true. Your God within could be very different than what my God within is, right? And so, because we're all here for different missions, right? And so if you falling underneath this God within and your mission is actually something over there, how the fuck are you ever going to know what your purpose is? How are you ever going to get aligned with your purpose? Right? That was the whole purpose. That was the whole point of it. Jesus was created in the 17th, 18th century by Constantine and his mother. He was a tyrant. He boiled his wife alive just because he killed his own son. Right? He killed all the other emperors and asked for absolution. And when his church wouldn't give it to him, he went to the Christians, and the Christians told him yes, they would absolve him, but they were a bunch of ignorant, meaning without knowledge, people. They were literally recruiting the ignorant, the destitute, the enslaved. Don't even get me started, y'all. But anyways, They were trying to disconnect you from yourself is what I'm basically saying though. Okay. So what I do is I help people figure out what their oversoul function is, the tone of your oversoul, what you came here to do, what past life soul contracts you have that are still keeping you from, that are still plaguing you and have been plaguing you for lifetimes, because a lot of us don't understand that we were supposed to be at a specific harmonic, right? They knew that we were going to fall into distortion, but we fell lower than where they ever expected us to fall. We fell out of harmonic even within the lowest density. Okay, which means when they thought we couldn't drop out any lower, we dropped out 6 more motherfucking feet, which put us in a karmic incarnation loop. A lot of us are just reincarnating into a loop. But because now we've forgotten ourselves, we don't understand who we are, because we was never supposed to come here as somebody who did not remember our oversoul function and what we were supposed to do and what our mission was. But because we have, now we're easily able to be controlled. And so what I do within my flame lineage readings is I reconnect you to your oversoul. I tell you what you came here to do. I tell you what your energies are. I tell you how they all connect. I coach you through. I give you specific journal prompts, mirror affirmations, and rituals for you to do that are specific to your oversoul, because you are not like everybody else. They try to tell us that we are the same, but really everything that they teach us is about them. It is not about us, right? What you say? Like, how did we get so uninformed? Fractured, distorted timelines, the trauma, all the trauma that they put us through. It's so organized, y'all. But if you understand grid lines and if you understand nodal points and stuff like that, you'll understand that a lot of our memory can be buried in trauma. So what they have to do is go to places specific, like Earth has nodal points, and these nodal points are energetic convergence zones where that hold memory. It's almost like a memory vault, right? If they have a traumatic event on top of that specific nodal point, it creates a tear and we start leaking energy. And so we're not able to connect to that in the same way that we were supposed to connect to it, because it's fragmented, right? Because it's broken. They break it with trauma. So a lot of the wars and stuff that we witness are strategically placed in the places that they're placed because it causes trauma and it buries our Earth's memory underneath trauma. A lot of us are born into these traumatic family lines because the codes that we need are buried underneath the trauma, you know? And so as above, so below. So we're so informed because we're traumatized. And the reason why it works for us is because we're feeling beings, but they told us feeling is bad, right? They told us if you feel these specific emotions, those are bad. And so we refuse to feel. But we're being traumatized, and that's why. Because what happens when your brain experiences trauma? What happens when your brain experiences trauma? A lot of times you forget the trauma, right? You got to go to a hypnosis or a hypnotist, right? To remember that trauma. It shuts it out so that you don't have to experience it anymore. So that's what they did. They traumatized us because it shuts you off from the memory. And you can't remember nothing before that. Right? So they do that on a subconscious level. Okay. So the flame is not just celestial, it's subterranean, meaning that we are not just of the stars, we are also of the earth. So we are here to remember what has been buried. So we think that, again, we come here to ascend. We come here to figure out who we are, that we're constantly in this place of becoming something. No, you are remembering something. You are remembering who you are, right? And the reason why you got to do shadow work and trauma work is because the only way for you to remember who you are is you got to unbury yourself from the trauma of your lineage, because your whole lineage is suffering from trauma. And everything that you need is still there, but it's buried in the trauma. So you got to break the generational curses so that you can get the codes which hold the memories, right? And that's why I do the work that I do. Because they will not win, friend. Not while I'm around. They will not win. I remember 9 lifetimes. 9. Okay? A lot of y'all have been here multiple times. And a lot of the things that y'all experience in this lifetime are not of this lifetime. And so y'all trying to fight battles that y'all can't even fucking see. Y'all can't even see. It happened to you 2 lifetimes ago. Right? So, because Earth does not imitate magic, she is the source field through which all magic is first expressed. That is why you need to be in connection with Earth. because she is the source field from which all magic is first expressed. She holds the memory that you need to reconnect to yourself, to remember yourself, to stand in your inner throne so nobody can manipulate you. Earth is what puts you back on your feet. Okay? Now, earth-based traditions work with elemental forces. So soil, water, fire, air, not as a symbol, but as living intelligences that respond to attention and ritual. You are made up of all of the elements because you are made up of earth, as above, so below. You are her, she is you. She just your big body, you the little body, you know? So also, earth traditions are made up of ancestral currents. Okay, so the bones, the blood, the land that holds memory and resonance, right? We connect to earth or through the aether, through plasma, but you also have plasma in your body. And if you're a woman, it comes out every single month. And they tell you it's toxins and you got to throw it away. When you could be giving that back to earth. All right. Natural reciprocity as well, offering and receiving with the land instead of just extraction. We extract everything from earth. The oil, which is her blood, the crystals, which is her bones, the salt, which is her crystalline grid, right? That's how she communicates with all parts of herself. We just extract, but everything in this world is about energy exchange. Everything is a sacred energy exchange. If you want to receive, you have to give. Okay, you got to be in flow. Earth is a water body, which means she got to be in flow. She can't constantly be pouring into a hole because then you drain her. It's like you being in martyr energy, where you giving, and then you feel so alone, you feel so used up, you feel so exhausted, right? Because you giving, and everybody just taking it, and ain't nobody giving back to you. And when you going through some shit, you call them same people, and they say I ain't got it, and you like, well, but damn, bitch, I done gave you everything you done asked for, right? That's what we do on the earth right now. Okay, so when energy is directed through her natural currents, it flows with less resistance because earth already carries the blueprint for manifestation. This is why even simple acts like burying something in the ground or speaking over your water, I tell you all the time, your water is a living intelligence. Speak over your water before you ingest it. Speak over your food because you change the molecular structure. Always put your intention, do things consciously, right? Or burn herbs to shift energy so tangibly. What the fuck is the bay leaves? Bay leaves, y'all writing what you want on a bay leaf and burning it. All right, now don't say I ain't never told you nothing, okay? But this type of connection with earth is feared because systems of power often demonize these practices because they bypass institutional control. They want institutional control. We are easier to control when we're disconnected, okay? And that's why we got rubber on the bottom of our shoes, okay? You don't need a priest, you don't need a government, you don't need a book because the memory lives inside of you. But they told us, well, everything needs to be proven scientifically. And anything that can't be proven is a coincidence or it's a phenomenon, right? So that you don't look in that direction. So it stops us from exploring who we actually are because they gatekeeping who we are. They know exactly who we are. They gatekeeping who we are so we don't know. And so that they could use so that their control systems are effective. So those of us who remember, we got to speak up. We got to talk about this stuff, right? So they restore sovereignty as well. When you feel your own power with the land, you're harder to manipulate. You don't got to ask nobody for nothing. You just go out and you do your little ritual. You come back in and baby, everything that was in your way is gone, right? And it also activates remembrance because the earth carries codes that are older than any empire. Earth remembers everything. The water remembers everything. That's why they constantly trying to traumatize the water and pollute it. That's why they ain't did nothing about that ocean, what's going on in that ocean. That's why they dump all of our sewage into water, into natural springs, right? They labeled it as dark. They labeled it as dangerous. And it wasn't because they're inherently harmful. It's because they wanted to disrupt artificial systems of control, okay? Well, because they disrupt artificial systems of control. Because when Earth is in her energy, she collapses. Like today, the 9-9 portal is so important because 9 is about completion, right? It's about integration. 11 is an interdimensional gate. So today is a beautiful portal where Earth naturally collapses any ego-driven systems that are not helping us to move towards soul evolution, and opens up the oversoul collective field in subconscious mind, and pours in new instruction. But because they've traumatized us on this day, 9/11, now we stuck in fear loops instead of it being a period of rebirth like it's supposed to be. Earth naturally collapses systems when she is not traumatized. Okay, so the deities and the spirits, we talked about these before. The only people who gatekeep are people who are still struggling to feel like themselves, and they want to belong to something that's special, because if they belong to something special, then it teaches them they're special. In turn, they are special. Spirit does not gatekeep. Okay, let me just say that. And Spirit told me that. Okay, let me just say that. Many of the deities and the spirits that are invoked through indigenous practice, Voudon and earth-aligned lineages, are not separate gods, but frequency beings of the land. Okay, they're guardians of rivers, of forests, of caves, of crossroads. Okay, they're ancestors who became custodians of certain forces after death. Okay, elemental intelligences that take form through ritual contact. Okay, meaning exchange of energy. That's all a exchange of energy. Okay, they are potent because they are not abstract. They are anchored here, woven into the land's frequency field. A lot of the deities are your ancestors. They're your ancestors. They're archetypes that are supposed to, like the Egyptian gods, are archetypes that you are supposed to embody. They're telling you how to exist, how to be. But you think that it's something above you. It's telling you how to anchor in the energy that you're supposed to possess, right? You go to Ifa and they tell you who sits at your crown, because that's the energy you're supposed to be embodying, you know? So these traditions are very potent because they are rooted in Earth's living consciousness. Outside of Earth, they do not exist. In other planetary systems, they do not exist. They are specific ancestors of Earth. So when you're aligned with Earth, you tap into something that cannot be faked, it cannot be bought, it cannot be controlled. It simply is. Now, I will say this. They do have mimic grids, meaning that they have mimic grids and overlays, so that if you go to something and you still living in fear, right? If you trying to do spiritual practices, earth practices, and you living in fear, you're going to connect to their fields and not the actual field. The actual field only responds to heart coherence. You have to come humbly. You have to come and be willing and be open. Because if you're not willing and you open, you tapping into something else. False gods, false guides. Okay? Now, why did they need to demonize salt? Because salt is the earth's crystalline keeper. Okay? They demonize anything that is meant to connect you to earth. So sun, they tell you it burns you. You can't be in the sun too long, it's gonna burn you up. Right? Earth, they tell you it's dirty. They make it dirty so that they can sell you the story. Fire, they tell you is dangerous. Fire is I work with fire almost every day. You're a flame. A lot of y'all are flame bearers. You need to be working with fire, right? Salt, they say salt causes diseases. You can't have too much salt in your body. Salt is going to cause disease. But they glorify sterile white sugar, right? They glorify processed grains, seed oils, fluoride, synthetic supplements, artificial light food, you know, which is them fruits they be making that they done genetically modified. That's artificial light. Salt is a carrier of Earth's codes, and it supports the electrical conductivity of your cells and meridians. Okay, without salt, your body loses its ability to ground light, to transmit memory, to hold stable energetic charge. It dulls you. Okay, this is why many salt-deprived bodies feel floaty, anxious, unrooted. Your oversoul cannot fully land in a body like that. It becomes overwhelming, and then you get anxiety because you got all this energy trying to come in, and you ain't got the right tools in the body to help it integrate. Okay, so sugar, there's natural sugar, and then there's refined sugar. Okay, natural sugar is okay. That comes from honey. That comes from fruit. That comes from, you know, all of things like that. Even the water that you need It's hydrolase. It's H3O2. It's not H2O2. That's what they need. Okay? You get it from fruit. The sugar that you need, you get it from fruit. Okay? Earth gives you everything that you need. Anything that they created is distortion. But Earth is going to produce everything that you need naturally. Think about that. Okay? The frequency of sugar is addictive and it's destabilizing. A lot of people who have diseases have sugar all through their body, refined sugar, because sugar actually feeds the illusion of dopamine, meaning like it temporarily makes you feel happy, right? So then you think you happy and you get addicted to it, because every time that that sugar exits your body, now you drop back and you're not happy anymore. It's almost like coffee. Coffee pulls you up real quick, but then when 5 hours go by, now all of a sudden you're so sleepy, right? And then you feel like, what? I got to get more coffee. Sugar is the same way, okay? It's addictive and it destabilizes you, okay? The impact on your field is that it creates false light rush, dopamine, okay? Emotionally, it makes you avoidant and it makes you get stuck in a dopamine loop. Social media gets you stuck in a dopamine loop. Drinking gets you stuck in a dopamine loop. All of the things. Spiritually, it feeds illusion and parasitic patterns, and also causes parasites. A lot of people have little tiny parasites at their sphincter, right? Because it's is it sphincter? No. At their stomach, going into their stomach is all these little parasites that can't wait for the sugar to come down, right? And that's why you be craving sugar after meals and stuff like that, because them parasites is like, where you putting this in? No, where the sugar? Where the sugar? Where the sugar? Right? And Earth's resonance, it's synthetic. It's distorted solar energy. Okay, it's distorted activity energy, masculine energy, right? Because it makes you take it and all of a sudden you get all this burst of energy, right? You're going. It's mimic energy, right? Whereas salt is crystalline. Okay, it grounds you, it stabilizes you. And that's why in every single ritual they use salt to purify. It anchors in true light. Okay. I remember I was in El Salvador and I got spiritually attacked in El Salvador multiple times. When I was walking throughout my day after I got spiritually attacked, and I kept tasting salt. I now understand that to me, my ancestors, they were trying to protect me, but I kept tasting salt and I'm like, damn, I don't understand why I keep tasting salt in my mouth. It purifies, it protects you. Emotionally, salt helps you to stay present and to embody your oversoul. It connects you to Earth's crystalline grid. Spiritually, it restores memory and coherence. They say you get some water, put a little bit of sea salt in that water and drink it. Keeps the headaches away. It also helps you to be resonant with Earth, because again, it comes from Earth's crystalline grid. Okay, so this is a core inversion tactic. Is they try to push you towards sugar instead of salt. They tell you salt is bad for you. Okay. And it's used to scramble the crystalline grid of Earth by scrambling it within your body, because as above, so below, as within, so without. Okay. If they can scramble you, in turn, Earth, because this is the realm of effects, right? And so they scramble you internally. And the effect of that is that Earth is now scrambled. We are living nodal points on Earth. If we're not transmitting properly, the signal that's going to Earth is not transmitting properly, right? So the body has an internal crystal salt structure. And if that is weak, then the oversoul cannot anchor through your bones, your blood, and your womb matrix. Okay. So Earth's natural role before distortion was far more than just a physical planet. She was and still is a living cosmic temple, a womb creation, and a crystalline memory archive designed to support oversoul embodiment, interdimensional harmony, and soul evolution through joy, beauty, and form. You have to understand, they used to call this heaven on earth because it was a way for God energy to manifest in the physical in form and to feel things, right? Because we came here to feel, and that's vibration, that's sound. We came here to understand the sound spectrum and to slow everything down so we can feel everything, so we can understand everything at a deeper level. And so we were meant to create these vessels to embody the God self, the higher dimensional being, into density. so we could see color, so we could see beauty, so we could see form, right? So everything could be split, and we can see if love is the only thing that exists, what happens when we don't have love, right? That's what we came to experience, okay? So there's 7 sacred lenses of what Earth was before we fractured. The first one is it was a living library of the cosmos. Earth was created as a seed vault of divine memory holding the blueprints of countless star systems, okay? Elemental codes, sacred geometry, and oversoul expressions, okay? Which is the God within that there are more than just one, okay? She seeded the harmonics for other star systems, Lyra, Vega, Sirius, Andromeda. Her crystalline layers stored emotions, memories, timelines, and star wisdom in harmonic resonance, okay? Because she's a water body. All beings who incarnate here contribute to the collective Akasha, okay? A shared soul memory archive, meaning like the Akashic records are here, Earth, in Earth's body. If you know what the Akashic records are, the Akashic records hold what is, was, and will ever be across all of the multiverse, okay? The second thing is that she's a grid keeper of interdimensional harmony, okay? She's supposed to be like the heart chakra of this specific universe, okay? The neutral point, the 0 point, the neutral point, because that's where everything manifests, right? So before distortion, Earth held perfect harmonic balance across 12, later 13 primary grid points connecting the elemental, solar, lunar, and galactic forces. It was a place for us to come and experience everything, right? So the crystalline grid maintains coherence between heaven and earth. Heaven is just like the upper realms. That's it. The upper, so we're not completely disconnected from our God self. So we don't get lost and confused. The problem is we've still been severed from it in other ways. Okay. The dragon lines and the ley lines allow cosmic energy to flow in and out through Earth's womb, heart, and crown. The reason why Earth herself has dragon lines and ley lines, Kundalini energy is what you call it. We got Kundalini energy, dragon and ley lines in our body. So does Earth. Our ley lines in our body are called meridians. Okay. We got dragon lines as well. So does Earth, but it's because a lot of us who are flame bearers who wanted to bring the God self into this physical reality have contracts with dragon energy, right? Dragons are a living consciousness intelligence. Okay. They're like an oversoul stream. And they help, some of us have intertwined purposes with them, whether we know it or not. Okay. Portals between dimensions were accessible with purity. So they weren't forced here, but they were responsive to heart-aligned consciousness, meaning you need to be at a specific resonance to use these portals. And so Earth is like kind of like a conduit where you can get anywhere, right? Earth was not a prison. It was a nexus, a portal keeper between worlds, meaning you could come here and you can go anywhere. That's why we have all these stargates, all these portals, all these, the Bermuda Triangle, like things like that. Stonehenge, that is a portal site. That is a stargate. It's dead. They done knocked it down. It exists on a higher frequency, but that was a portal. The sacred womb of oversoul incarnation is the third thing. Earth's body is the cosmic womb matrix where oversoul consciousness could gently descend into form, right? The God self could gently descend. We chose to descend. We didn't choose to forget, though, and that's the thing. Okay. Earth's body is a cosmic womb matrix where oversoul consciousness could gently descend into form. She allows souls to experience beauty, sensuality, and memory through matter. Okay. Her elemental forces were extensions of her oversoul body. So Earth is the bone memory. Okay. Earth is what connects you to your ancestors, whether you know it or not. And that's why a lot of people who do ancestor work do what we call quote unquote magic. They're ritualistic people. Why? That's why. Okay. Water is emotional memory. Trauma is stored in the water. Okay. Water is emotional memory. Fire is will and transformation. Okay. Air is intelligence and messaging. Aether and plasma is divine remembrance. Okay. So her original role was to help us to feel the infinite within the tangible. Okay. So the infinite within the finite. Okay. So to become temples of divine through touch, taste, breath, and movement. Because we don't have those anywhere but here, right? Also, she is a heart bridge of the galaxy. Earth once served as a harmonic resonator between inner and outer universes, the middle harmonic of the Milky Way, because we're in the Milky Way galaxy, right? So her song was encoded in the crystalline heart of Laniakea, which is the galactic supercluster. That's actually a Hawaiian word because Hawaii holds heart energy, right? But it's like the heaven, the immense heaven is what that I think translates to. She anchors the 13 sacred harmonics that align star systems into a unified field. Beings from all star systems could gather here to co-create, to merge, and to learn through form. And we were originally seeded by Lyra, which is also a Vega star system. Vega is the main star in the Lyra system, which was the first harmonic society. I talked about that on my podcast episodes. Also, Sirius A, Sirius B, Andromeda. Who else is here? Pleiadians. But then the Draconians, they're here too. The people from Orion's belt, they here too. They are a big part of the distortion that we experience. But they come from a distortion galaxy, meaning like they were an experiment. Just like Sirius was an experiment in mystery and dream, right? Venus also harmonic society in love and compassion and beauty, right? So everything you know about the planets is true. Those planets were substations for that, but they also wanted to explore distortion, like what would happen if we lived in polarity, right? So Orion and the Draconians were responsible for the polarity experiment. And then what happened is, because they were disconnected from the oversoul, they wanted to take over everything else. And so they went and attacked Lyra. And that was the first fall, was actually Lyra, which is the first harmonic society, which is high up. And then it just trickled down. Okay. So Earth was not created for suffering. She was built as a temple of co-creation and joy, and was supposed to mirror a galactic peace. But it's just with these polarity experiments, they just started attacking all these other star systems that trickled all the way down to Earth. And now the last place that they could be is here, because the higher harmonics have already been restored, right? Earth is just slower because she's in the lowest density, meaning like when you're in low density, everything moves slow. Right there, that's where time and space only exist in this reality, and it's because we're moving slow. It's like we are a spiral, but when you stretch a spiral out, it's a line, right? So we're just, if you stretch it out to 2D, it's a wave, right? So I hope that makes sense for those of y'all who needed the visual. Okay, the fifth thing is the divine mirror of fractal consciousness. She was a mirror realm where what was held in the oversoul, the soul, or the consciousness would instantly reflect through form. Okay, her biology mirrored energy, thought, and frequency. When souls were clear, Earth was paradise. Okay, meaning you didn't live with trauma. And that's why, again, you got to do shadow work. If you want to remember who you are, if you want to figure out what your purpose is in life, you have to deal with the trauma first. That's the only way through, because the trauma is what keeps your true self buried. You are buried under trauma. And it's not just your trauma, it's from generations. And when you clear yourself, you clear the generations before you, and you clear space for the generations that are coming after you. Okay. I remember myself through doing the fucking work, and it sucks. They want to sell you love and light. That's spiritual bypassing. They're fucking liars. That shit hurts. It sucks. You're going to be miserable for a long time before you get to the other side. You cannot rush through it. You have to reach the frequency. You have to remother yourself. You have to recoach yourself. And that shit fucking sucks. Okay, I would never be the one to lie to you. They lying. It sucks, because it's not just your grief. It's the grief from generations. And that shit feels heavy. But it's nothing to be scared of, right? Because on the other side of that is you. Boundaries is on the other side of that. You being able to speak up for yourself. You being able to build a life that you want and stop prioritizing everybody else, right? You loving yourself. You loving your life. You doing something you passionate about. I can't wait to get up and do the work that I do every single day. I got a meeting at 3:00, which is in an hour. I can't wait to talk to my client. I got some shit to tell her about her oversoul and how her energy works together, because that's what I do, right? And I love what I do. But first I had to go to hell. I had to go through the darkness to get to the light. You got to go underground to get to the light. That's what they constantly telling us through these fables and stuff. Hercules' journey. You got to go down and you got to fight the 12 zodiacs. And then you come out with the feminine, with the damsel in distress, meaning the masculine energy is the boundary you got to get over your mind. It's the boundary you got to get over to rescue the feminine who is suppressed underneath all those damn thoughts, right? So Earth was both a healing realm and a creation training ground. Earth's role was to teach beings how to create with truth, love, and alignment. Okay. Also was a crystalline teacher of form and time. Time was not originally linear here. Earth was a spiral timekeeper with multidimensional time accessibility through song, vibration, and geometry. Some of y'all are multidimensional and y'all don't understand that. And that's why y'all feel like y'all out of place here. Y'all feel so misunderstood because when y'all look at people, y'all don't just see one version of them. Y'all see them across timelines. Y'all see them as a multidimensional being. And so you try to fix them and you try to make them see what you see and you try to get them to be this version of themselves that they can't even conceptualize, right? This is a multidimensional place, but they taught you to think linearly. So you think that you're fucking crazy when you're having these moments where you're looking at things through a multidimensional lens. Okay. The people who see people on a soul level and base things off of potential, you're multidimensional. You can't do that because that's not the person that's in front of you. You got to call a spade and realize that you're rare. Okay? Because it's going to have you stand in situations because you see the potential of something. You see them across a different timeline, but they're not going to be able to conceptualize that themselves because that's not the version they are in front of you. Right? This is a multidimensional place. So her crystalline body, salt, quartz, and water. Okay? Quartz crystal. That's why you can use quartz crystal for anything. Salt, quartz, and water allows the body to resonate with memory, unlocking past soul lines, future trajectories, eternal truth. Okay? So she was designed as a dimensional symphony where sound, light, and matter harmonized instead of clashing together. Okay? And then the seventh one is that she was a sanctuary of free will and sovereign creation. This is probably the most sacred part of Earth's original design, but she was chosen to host the experiment of free divine will. And that's why we don't get interference from these other beings, is because this is a place that they had decided long before we got here was going to be a place of free will, which means that if we chose distortion as a collective, if we chose and what I mean by distortion is manipulation, control. If we chose our lower self over our higher self, they cannot interfere with that because we have free will to do that. Even though there are predatory spirits that influence that. Okay. Earth was chosen to host the experiment of divine free will. Hold on. Let me, So beings were allowed to explore what happened when the divine chooses itself, meaning you came here to choose love authentically, right? To make sure you are who you say you are. Every moment was a chance to return to source through experience, not force, meaning that every single experience you have is a chance for you to return to the God within, is a chance for you to return to source energy. Okay. How do you know if that experience is returning you to source or not? Is how it makes you feel. If it feels good, yes, you are now, that's your soul saying to you, that is aligned with source. That is aligned with the God within. That is pushing you closer towards the mission. If you have a bad experience, meaning like it is a bad emotional experience, no matter how intense it is, no matter what emotion you feel, does it feel bad? That is a no. You're going in the opposite direction. That is out of alignment with your soul's mission. Choose another option. That's what it's saying. But the problem is because we're so mentally focused and we've been coached and conditioned, we think if we feel embarrassment, then something is wrong with us. If we are yelling at our kids in the store and somebody shames us because we feel shame, we're a bad parent. We assign meaning and identity to everything, not understanding that's the bane of our existence. We're never going to just be one thing. We're multidimensional beings. So you don't give yourself grace. We live in a society that's pushing us towards performance, which means they're pushing us towards perfection. So you don't allow yourself to be anything less than perfect, even though you have to have an experience because we learn through contrast. You have to have a bad experience so you can figure out what the good experience is, right? Or you learn through other people. Everything is a mirror. Everything here is mirroring you because Earth is a mirror system, right? So every moment is a chance to return to source through your experience. Okay? Earth was a dreaming realm where oversouls could try new things, play, learn, evolve, play with angelic codes, all of these things. This is why Earth carries so much significance. That's why there's so many eyes on Earth. The gift of free will was sacred remembrance. So after distortion, when distortion entered, so grids were hijacked, AI matrices, timelines, genetic seeding experiments, all of the fucking things. Earth's role was compromised. It was not erased. It was compromised. Okay. So her crystalline body still remembers. Her womb matrix is recovering. The womb of Earth is in Antarctica. The womb of Earth is in Antarctica. That's why we can't be there, because they need full control over her womb, her creation. Okay, it's recovering now. Ain't shit they can do about it. Okay, they froze it. Okay, her dragon lines are awakening. Her song is calling people home. Okay, so let's talk about plasma real quick. Plasma is one of the primordial sources of source energy, often referred to as the fifth element beyond earth, air, fire, and water. Okay, plasma and aether work together. Plasma is what moves across aether. Okay, so in spiritual and energetic terms, it plays a vital role in oversoul embodiment, consciousness expansion, and planetary evolution. The most common form of plasma is lightning, electricity. You got plasma in your body. So the electricity in your body is how your cells communicate. And that's why you need salt. You need salt because it's how your cells communicate. Okay, you got lightning going on in your body, and sometimes it's why you sneeze, why you got electricity moving. Okay, so plasma scientifically is the fourth state of matter. After solid, liquid, and gas, there is plasma. Okay, it consists of charged particles, ions, and free electrons that behave collectively like a fluid. So it's found in lightning, in stars, in the sun, in the aurora fields. So the aurora borealis is energetic and is spiritual. So plasma is the living light intelligence, the bioplasmic field of source that carries pure creation codes. Okay. Now, this is pre-matter, meaning plasma was here before matter was here. So sometimes if you're dreaming and you see those plasma beings, they kind of look bioluminescent. That's what that is. Okay. But it is the bridge between energy and form. Okay. So it's not just light, it is coded, sentient, tone holding current. Okay. In ancient terms, it is the living light of hydrolase flame, which again, fruit gives you hydrolase, H3O2. Okay. Fruit gives you it gives you plasma. Okay. So the living light of hydrolase flame, which was Lyra and Tara. Tara is like Earth's 2D body. Okay. The Elaha and Elea stream, which are angelic lineages, and the Christos Sophia plasma, which is in the Diamond Sun and the Sirah teachings. Okay. So plasma is important because it carries original blueprints. Plasma carries untampered original source codes that are not distorted by overlays or energetic timelines. It holds the oversoul design, your starseed memories, and pre-fracture templates, which means if you want to remember Atlantis, if you want to remember Lemuria, Mu, and which are all stuff that I talked about on my spiritual talk, and it's also being posted on my podcast right now. You have to heal your plasma. And when you heal your plasma inside, you heal Earth's plasma as well. It also rebuilds crystalline architectures. So it restores organic structures such as your DNA, your chakras, and your Stargate systems. Your chakras were never supposed to be separate. They actually work as one full unit. But because we fell into polarity and we had to be excommunicated from the higher realms because we was like a fucking toddler with a goddamn gun, they said they had to separate because it's the only, because through the chakras are portals. And so we could reach like Tara, we could reach there's another one called Armentia. There's the place that I just told you about, Laniakea. Those are all harmonic resonances that we could reach through our chakra systems, but they had to shut it down because again, like we were a teenager with a gun. So it supports crystalline light body formation as well. So plasma flow regenerates rather than forcefully activates. It also merges the masculine and feminine currents together. Okay, so it's what harmonizes the inner tri-wave field. Okay, so we have magnetism, which is feminine energy, which is rest, which is darkness, which is emotion. And then we have electric energy, which is the mind, which is thought, which is activity. And then we have plasma. Plasma is that 0 point energy. It's the union point. It's like everything has a triplicity to it, right? And they kind of teach you this through Christianity. You have God, the devil, and Jesus. Jesus says, be like me, because Jesus is that plasma point. It's the 0 point energy. Jesus wasn't absolved from any sin. He still sinned, right? It's because he was the perfect balance in between God and the devil. Like they say, you have all of them inside of you, but you're supposed to live like at that neutral point, that stillness point, right? This leads to oversoul fusion, kundalini recalibration, and flame remembrance. Okay. Also, it neutralizes distortion. So plasma dissolves the false programs embedded in your energetic field, like implants, which sometimes you have implanted memory, whether you know it or not. Reversals, seals as well. A lot of us have seals from our 4-strand DNA all the way up to 12. And again, that was to keep us out of those higher harmonics. but a lot of them are loosening right now. That's why we're having this conversation. And also trauma patterns as well, not by resistance, but by restoring harmonic codes. It also allows multidimensional access as well. Again, you're a multidimensional being who doesn't understand that you're multidimensional because you have been locked out of or severed from your multidimensionality. But it doesn't mean that you don't still experience multidimensional things, because they only can delay you or they only can suppress you, but it doesn't mean that you're not strong enough to live above that. You know what I'm saying? So plasma fields allow your consciousness to safely access Tara, Gaia, Araminta, Lanakia, and any pre-fall Stargate memories, okay? Because plasma is not time-bound. It is a memory carrier, okay? Plasma shows up in Kundalini energy and spinal flow when it's harmonized, meaning like a lot of us don't understand that the energy in our spine. So a lot of times your spine is the most important energetic column in your fucking body. All of your spiritual energy moves up and down your spine, right? And so if you got a stiff spine, meaning like you don't have flexibility in your spine, that energy is not moving properly. And because your chakra system sits on your spinal column, most of the time when you don't have a flexible spine, it's because your chakras are blocked. Every single dis-ease in the body, dis-ease in the body comes from the chakra system. That means you got to get your chakras together in order for you to have a flexible spine, in order for this energy to flow the way that it's supposed to flow. Okay. And that leads you to higher states of consciousness, embodiment, all of those things. High heart activation, which is right here, is your high heart is connected to your thymus gland. Okay. And high heart activation is what anchors in compassion and also divine union. Meaning, like, again, we're perceiving love wrong. We are looking at love from a distorted lens. Men are conditioned in this performance society to produce, and women are conditioned to please, which means that women are taught to abandon themselves in order for them to stay in community with men, with masculine energy, when masculine energy really was the energy of protection and taking our ideas and putting them into form. But we have been inverted, right? So we have only been taught about polarity consciousness, which is seeing one truth at a time, like, which is what science teaches us, meaning like, no, this can't be true and this be true. You have to pick one. That's not true. Because we are multidimensional people, and because life has nuance and everything appears on a spectrum, there are multiple truths that can exist at once. You could be true and I could be true at the same time. It's like somebody has a 9 on the ground. You looking at it from this direction, I'm looking at it from this direction. I say 6, you say 9, and they say, no, everybody's wrong. It depends on what perspective you're looking at it from. You know what I'm saying? So high heart consciousness teaches you compassion. It teaches you empathy with discernment, meaning that if something is hurting you, you have a right to leave. It's not making you feel good, so it's pulling you away from source, right? If it doesn't make you feel good, it's pulling you away from source. So you have a right to correct that action, right? I hope that makes sense. You know, so high heart consciousness, we are often taught about polarity consciousness and Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is a collective consciousness. First, you got to reach high heart consciousness, which is in the middle, which is compassion, which is forgiveness, which is empathy with discernment, right? Which means if you burn your hand on that stove, don't burn your hand on that stove no more. But women in this society are not taught about the high heart because they want us to keep giving, just like Earth is giving, and keep on extracting until there's nothing fucking left, right? Cranial and brain rewiring as well. Plasma pulses activate oversoul centers, which there's a huge one back here. And I see when people come to me, I see a lot of attachments here or right here at this throat center. Right? Menstrual blood and seminal fluid carry plasma codes when they're purified. Your womb is a memory vault. Your womb holds all the memory of your ancestry. So if you have irregular periods, or if you have painful periods, you have ancestral trauma that you need to heal and you need to alchemize. Okay? On Earth, because we just talked about the body on Earth, the aurora fields, the northern and southern lights, plasma. Crystalline cave networks near the Lemurian gates, which a lot of them are in the UK. A lot of them are in Glastonbury, I think is what it's called. Sacred springs, saltwater lakes, and underwater stargates, but also lightning storms and solar plasma storms. We just went through a huge plasma flare, which I think they ended today, but they've been going on for 2 weeks. So people have been posting videos of like all this crazy lightning in the sky and stuff like that. We were going through plasma waves, okay? So in consciousness during oversoul embodiment, plasma is active while connecting to the seraphim flame codes. These are lineages that are coming back right now. They've been underground for 1,000 years. The Black Lemurian lines are coming back too. They've been underground for 12,000 years. The reason why they're coming back now is because they're meant to help us alchemize and transmute trauma. Okay. Earth is tired. She wants to heal and she's forcing it now. And so these lineages that have been underground because that were protecting codes are now coming back through y'all bloodlines. And that's why y'all feel different. Or you have all this grief you can't explain. Those lineages are trying to come back to the top, right? So if you need help with that, call your girl. All right. But also mirror flame union experiences when entering plasma-based meditation fields as well. So white gold lineages hold plasma, opalescent lineages hold plasma as well. Okay. Now, plasma is intimately connected to aether, and it is one of the most overlooked yet powerful forces available for reconnecting to Earth's living intelligence, and that's why we're talking about it. Okay, it's both a carrier and a communicator, bridging the realm of spirit and matter together, oversoul and body together, heaven and earth together. Okay, so plasma is often described as the fourth state of matter, like I said, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Okay, but in spiritual and cosmic terms, it is much more than that. It's a living, intelligent, light liquid. It carries both life force and information, meaning like when they say we live in a light matrix, it's a plasma. It's plasma though, okay? It's not like light in the way that we see it. It's fluid, okay? It exists between dimensions and binds them together. It transmits oversoul memory, creation codes, and harmonic resonance. It moves faster than light, but it is felt through stillness and presence, meaning you have to learn how to slow down. We live in a society that tells us to go, 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 go. Why? Because it disconnects us from the plasma, which disconnects us from our multidimensional self. It disconnects us from our body. It disconnects us from earth. Okay. It disconnects us from everything. When you're going, you don't even have time to think. You just jumping into things. You easily manipulate it, right? Because then they say, well, you got to answer by tomorrow, right? You got to slow down. Okay. It's done through stillness and presence, which also means you got to sit with yourself, which means we, again, live in an emotionally fragile society. Nobody wants to feel their feelings. Everybody running from themselves, right? And that's why when it get too quiet at night, you get on your phone. You call your friends. You go hang out. You go to the bar. Because you don't want to sit with yourself, because that's when the silence get too loud, right? You have to. You literally have to, okay? It is the breath of the stars and the connective tissue between all realms, every single realm, okay? Plasma is a living, aether first. Aether is the primordial field. It's the canvas or mother substance that holds all possibilities, okay? Plasma is the living movement upon that canvas. Okay, the living movement upon that canvas. It is encoded will, its conscious direction, and its creative expression. So think of aether as a womb, okay, and plasma as the first spark of life dancing through that womb. Okay. Plasma moves through soul loom. Now, I talked about soul loom before. It's basically a crystalline network within our body, because we have three nervous systems. We don't just have parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. We also have a crystalline web, right? This loom that is part of this crystalline web, which is like our muscle fascia, is what they call it biologically, materially. But this loom is where all of the energy moves in our body across. But what happens is when we experience trauma, there are parts that are tangled or parts that are knotted up and stuff like that. So our energy can't move through our body in the way that it's supposed to. Plasma actually is like the river that moves through the soul loom. Okay. So your oversoul template is woven through your body, and plasma is what moves through it. Okay. So it flows through your meridians, your nadis, which are energy channels, the golden spiral line, which is your serpent and dragon lines, your chakra portals, and the breath spiral that runs from Earth's core to the cosmic sun. The plasmic lattice around your field as well, sometimes called the crystalline skin or the liquid light body. So when plasma flows clearly, you receive oversoul codes more easily. You feel lucid, magnetic, present, and spontaneously guided, meaning you can magnetize things to you. Your body becomes a symphony of multidimensional sensation. Okay, all of this is through trauma work. You need to do shadow work. Okay, when plasma is blocked, you're going to feel foggy. You're going to feel disembodied. You're going to feel energetically muffled, dizzy, confused, things like that. Oversoul information gets scrambled or lost in distortion, or you loop through confusion or spiritual fatigue. Okay. Psychics are tapping into plasma, whether they know that they tapping into plasma, because plasma is a carrier of soul codes, which means any past life memories, which is something I do in my flame lineage readings, just because some of y'all are still dealing with past life things. But anytime you tap into those that's plasma. Any thought forms that you're tapping into. So again, when I'm like doing a reading for somebody and I'm just like, you're in your head, or this is what I'm picking up on, those are thought forms that are either attached to your field, 9 times out of 10 attached to your field. Frequencies from star systems or dimensions, templates of timelines as well. So probabilities, choices, karmic echoes, like those type of things. Okay. When a psychic sees or feels something, they're often reading plasma imprints in your field, like watching a ripple in like a still pond. So you have too much plasma, you can get confused. No, what I'm saying is when your plasma cannot move in your body, meaning like you have all of these centers to where it's not flowing in the way that it's supposed to flow, it can cause that. Okay. So using plasma, you can use plasma to deepen your relationship with Earth. And so, because I said like plasma is the bridge between your oversoul and Earth's crystalline womb. So to deepen your connection with Earth, you can breathe plasma from the core, meaning like literally visualize yourself breathing up Earth's crystalline core. You can see the liquid light, or it's kind of like a pearlescent plasma to me. Like it has like a pearly look to it. Kind of like this is like a pearly vibe to it. Okay. To me, it's silver though. It looks kind of silver. And you see it entering through your feet, up your spine into your crown. Let it wrap around your heart and your womb, which are magnetic. Let it spiral out of your hands and feel like it's healing you. Okay. This aligns your plasma field with Earth's own intelligence. You can also lie on any stone or soil or salt. Because Earth's crystalline grid emits plasma pulses that can reawaken cellular memory. So lying down on any salt flats, river stones, volcanic rock, cave walls, red clay, or mountain soil. I don't know if I talked about this before, but the red clay dirt or the red dirt that you see down south is womb energy. That's the most potent, fertile lands. Okay. Allow your body to entrain with the rhythm, meaning like still yourself and see if you can feel the rhythm of the soil beneath you. Okay. You may feel a subtle hum or like a wave movement, but this is plasma realigning your soul loom. You also can offer water or voice. So Earth receives voice and intention into her plasmic web. So you can sing to Earth, you can tone to Earth, or whisper your truth into salt or water. I talked to y'all about a past life memory that I had where I woke somebody up too soon and he ended up jumping off a cliff because his ego got in the way and he died. And he was only like 14. His mom spent the rest of her time walking around. This would happen in Egypt, and just sing into the river, right? Because Earth takes offering, and sometimes you can just breathe into your hand and tell Earth, this is all I have today, and give it to her. That acts as an offering because breath is the breath of life. So you're breathing life back into her. You also can sing, you can tone, you can talk to Earth, just like you talk to a plant. You can also speak over water and pour it into the Earth. With reverence, with intention for her to use it for whatever it is, because you're giving her energy. Because we've been taught the only energy exchange that we have been taught is money, but that's not the only thing that we have to offer, especially not from a spiritual level, because spiritual level, they don't give a fuck about no money, right? Watch as the plasma web around you shifts and echoes with your soul remembrance. You can also use flame and lightning symbolism as well. Plasma is present in lightning, the auroras, solar flares, bioluminescence as well. So when the ocean every year turns bioluminescent, going and speaking to the ocean, your own heart's electromagnetic field as well. Okay, so to honor plasma is to honor spontaneity, truth, and raw illusion. Plasma flows where truth is embodied without fear, which means that you have to be honest with yourself about who you are, about how you show up. The reason why it's important to do trauma healing is because what trauma healing is teaching you is how to step into your authenticity, is it not? Right? Because most people have trauma because they don't speak up for themselves, right? They're choosing somebody else's comfort over their own. And so you are not living in truth. If you're people pleasing, you're not living in truth because you're prioritizing what other people need over what you actually need and not understanding that conflict is a natural part of life. That's how you get to know other people's differences. And it's okay for you to be different, right? So you got to live in your truth. You got to embody your truth. You got to speak your truth. You got to live truthfully. So if you're at work every single day and you're miserable, you're in the wrong room, because the feeling is going to tell you if you're closer to the goal or getting further away from the goal. If you're miserable, you're getting further away from the goal. Okay. So healing your plasma within your body directly supports the healing of Earth's plasma layers. Okay. This is the essence of as within, so without. Okay. So plasma as the divine conduit is, like I said, the fifth elemental state of matter, a luminous etheric substance that connects the spiritual and physical realms. It is a conscious living intelligence, more than just an energy. It's a carrier of original divine instructions set from source. Okay, so in your oversoul body, it flows like liquid starlight through your soul loom, weaving your higher blueprint into embodiment. Okay, so Earth too has a plasma body, a radiant grid of living light. This is called the aurora fields, the plasmic sun gates, or the inner Earth star waves. When Earth was seeded, her plasma body carried original codes of rejuvenation, immortal templates, harmonics of unity and sacred reciprocity, dream time access to Tara, Armatena, and the inner sun temples as well. But over time, these were overlaid, these were hijacked, these were siphoned by synthetic and inversion plasma architecture, which is AI. But also, it's all technology. Okay. How do you heal your plasma? When you restore your own plasma flow, this is how you heal Earth, through healing your plasma. When you restore your own plasma flow through soul weaving, bringing your fractals home, clearing false light overlays, meaning like a lot of the belief systems that we operate based off of are what people told us we were supposed to operate off of, not what how we actually feel, right? So that's how you clear out false light overlays, or not feeding into shit that you know is propaganda, like that type of stuff. Reclaiming sensuality, vitality, and oversoul essence, and choosing coherence in your thoughts and your embodiment, meaning your thoughts and your emotions have to align so you can take the appropriate action. Otherwise, you're not living honestly. Okay, it's like those people who grew up in racist families and they know in their head that it's wrong, but they do nothing about it. They stay in those environments. They don't speak up. Okay, that's you operating out of alignment. Okay, you literally begin emitting a corrected plasma signal into the planetary grid. You radiate light code signatures that counteract distortion patterns in Earth's field. Again, when you stand in your original tone, the tone that you're here to embody, you affect 17,000 people. You awaken 17,000 people. That's through plasma. That is what, I hope that makes sense. So people who carry the Sarah flame like myself, which is all 13 lineages, your plasma temple is built to weave new bridges across fractured timelines, harmonize polarity distortion, which is what I'm doing in a lot of these sessions, resurrect lost records of planetary unity. That's what I'm doing today. Activate dormant gates within Earth's crystalline womb. A lot of times by me just bringing awareness to you about it, now you have access to tapping into that yourself. Okay. How this shows up in your field is that, the call to rest, feel, clear, and open is a plasma purification cue. And what that looks like is like needing to nap, or being pulled inwards, or feeling too high vibe for distortion, wanting to leave places because they just don't feel right, or not you can't settle in certain environments that you used to settle in, wanting your body fully online, or sensing a collective wobble, which is the solar flares, the planetary retrograde motions and stuff like that. Becoming more sensitive. Those are all signs of the plasma purification. Okay. So your oversoul is preparing your plasmic nervous system for a new phase of transmission. And that's how that comes through. Okay. Now, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Does it make sense? Did I hit the nail on the nose? Do y'all understand? And again, this is important because Earth is the divine feminine. Okay. And we are meant to, some of us are here to embody the divine feminine through Earth, which means we got to get reconnected. Us being disconnected from Earth is doing us a huge disservice as a society. As a society, it is putting our power outside of ourselves. The divine feminine is 90% of who you are. It is the body. It is the body. Earth is the body that we live within. Right. And so in order for you to get in tune with your body, you need to get in tune with her body. And by you getting in tune with your body and getting rooted into Earth, you can shift the collective consciousness, right? You don't fix it by trying to do something outside of yourself. Like I said yesterday, and I use this analogy all the time, it's like you seeing something on your face, you looking in the mirror, you see something on your face, and you try to clear the mirror. This is the reality of effects, meaning you can't fix anything in the outcome reality. You got to fix it in the income reality, which means you got to go inside to fix it. Earth is just going to reflect what's happening on the inside of you. Okay. So I just thought that was important to talk about today. Just because I haven't had a yap session with y'all like this in a minute. Because I needed a break, to be honest. Your girl burns out at about 14 weeks. Okay. I know myself. I tell y'all that I know myself. I bring it to y'all to let y'all know how I am. Right. And so I think I've taken enough of a break, but I just don't know what these next sessions look like, because I'll be having a lot of random shit that I want to talk about, a lot of random shit that are aligned with me that's coming up. And so I've been doing it on my Patreon. If y'all not a part of my Patreon, www.patreon.com/becomingknown. There's a free chat. There's also a Soul Tribe chat. But I try to go live on there on Mondays just to keep the shit and talk about stuff I don't want to talk about in a very public way. But if y'all haven't not checked out my flame lineage readings, everything that I've been doing, I've been creating from my oversoul. I've been creating from my own memories. I created this deck. Looks like us, doesn't it? Gorgeous, gorgeous deck. You know, that is supposed to help you towards remembering yourself. This is the mirror of shame. Look at that, you and your little self. Um, but I created this deck, and it cosplays as a tarot deck, but it's not a tarot deck at all. It's an oversoul codex. It's supposed to help you to remember who you are. And I think a lot of what tarot is missing is a little distorted because it's only based in this reality, but you're not just matter, you're also spirit. You know, so I created that deck to kind of help people remember themselves so they do not have to go outside of themselves. You can use your intuition. And if you go on my website to look at what the card meanings are, I also provide you advice. I provide you rituals for you to do to get yourself embodied. Yeah, because I'm like that. Right. I also offer flame lineage readings as well. If you're trying to figure out what your oversoul is, what your primary, how does your soul speak to you? Some people have up to 3 languages that their soul speaks to them in. Some people, which is very rare, have up to 5. And then there's secondary lineages as well. These are going to be your karmic overlays, past life, generational trauma, all of those things. And it's going to tell me specifically how your energy is interacting with each other and what it is that you came here to clear and that type of stuff. And then I go, that's first session. Second session is about me looking at your past life contracts, things that are affecting you from previous lives. And then also figuring out your oversoul's specific language. And through all of that, I give you mirror affirmations. I give you journal prompts. I give you rituals for you to do that are specific to your lineage as well. I give you an entire integration package, which is like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 pages. It's got so much fucking information on it. It's overwhelming, to be honest. But then in our last session, which is our integration session, I coach you on how all of your energy is interacting, the best advice, the order that I would work in through your shadow work. And also, I give you some flame tending, which is like every single day you need to be doing something off this list to help you to embody, you know? And so this is the first time in my life I'm actually doing something that I feel like is truly, truly aligned with me. This is something, again, that I can't even prove. It is coming from the inside of me, but every single person I've talked to has been spot on. And we're working through it together. And, you know, it's a lot, but it takes me so much time with those sessions to get it together, because I just feel like so many of us don't understand who we are, remember who we are. And I have this ability to tap into soul contracts, soul blueprints, past lives, all of the things. So yeah. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That's all I really had to say. I was going to make a video about us looking at love wrong, but I feel like I done said that 1,000 times. And so I just wanted to talk about us getting reconnected to earth, because maybe then we would stop living in distortion. I don't know. I'm trying everything here. Okay. I love y'all deep. I got a client in 30 minutes, so I'm about to eat. Have an amazing rest of y'all day. I will probably be on here tomorrow. We'll see. Wait, what's today? I'm lying. I'm definitely not going to be on here tomorrow, but I will be on Patreon on Monday doing a live. I'll probably be on here Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see. Because I came on last Sunday and we were just jamming and doing readings. So yeah, I love y'all deep. Have an amazing rest of y'all day. And this will be on YouTube, which is BIGTAJJ. If you want to watch it again, the Atlantis series is also on YouTube. Hey TC, I ain't seen you in a minute. The Atlantis series is also on YouTube as well. Okay, such a good point. Conditioning makes a... All right, love y'all. Bye.